Hello and welcome everyone. Good morning. Welcome to our YouTube channel. Like, share and subscribe. Good morning everyone. This is what we are mainly looking at for today. Yesterday we did talk about the very fact that there's going to be what we know as the American. And the American dream is therefore that which tells people that in America anyone can become, anyone can be. They can transition from rags to. And at this point in time, when we look at that, it is all encapsulated, it is all underpinned in what we refer to as the capitalist boom of the as presented by yours truly. So in this instance, one thing that we are going to look at is what we know as the capitalist boom. Herein, we are mainly going to talk about the very fact that it's going to be what we refer to as a dip after a shift away from wartime production. When it comes to the capitalist boom, it is not going to be because of the dip. Instead, the capitalist boom happens because of what we refer to as wartime production. And when we speak of wartime production, it's wherein we are talking about World War. It's wherein we are talking about World War World War I. So when it comes to that, which we are mainly talking often about when we are referring to wartime production, it is tied to that particular aspect of Americans having industries that are going to focus on making weapons to fight World War I. Thank you. So when we speak of this wartime production, it is also going to lead to those industries that have now been opened to hire more people from the lower classes. And we do understand and remember the very fact that the society that is a capitalistic society, it is divided into classes. And when we speak of the classes, it's where we are referring to
Three classes.
We have three classes. So when we speak of the three classes that we mainly have, it's wherein you need to understand one thing. The classes mainly speak of inequality. The very fact that there are three different classes means the treatment that each of these classes get is different. And when it comes to the access to wealth, it is also different. And when we speak of the inequalities, then it's wherein it is going to be based on the facets that we spoke of yesterday, which are tied to the very fact that there's going to be divisions of classes. So there's going to be inequality because of class, there's going to be inequality because of race, there's going to be inequality because of ethnic origin. Wherein when people were still influenced, or when people were still influenced by the American dream, they were going to be met with that reality. That is quite unfortunately going to keep them poor and unsuccessful. Because of the very fact that there are these three things that actually stand as an inhibitor or as a barrier that therefore limits them from achieving the American, which is the inequality that is because of class, race, and ethnic origin. This is one. Now, when we look at this, is where now we are going to say the capitalist boom happens after what we refer to as the increase in production, which is tied to wartime production. When we speak of wartime production, it's when America was making money selling those weapons and hiring people in this country to work in those factories that were responsible for the making of those weapons, which means employment was going to increase. And there's also going to be that which we refer to as incomes rising after that which we refer to as 1920. When we speak of 1920 and incomes rising, it's where we are going to talk of people that were once unemployed who are now going to be employed and they are going to get paid. I want you to know and understand one thing that also is tied to this increase. As much as we speak of the very fact that incomes increase, if you've never earned anything, even 2 rand is a lot. Are we together? If you have never earned anything in your life, when you start earning 2 rand, it is Jeff. When it comes to that which we are mainly referring to as water flow. So when it comes to that which we are mainly referring to here as an increase in income, it does not necessarily mean people were paid high amounts of salaries or wages. Are we together? It's the very fact that people are going to get paid salaries to start with, which will be something for people that once had nothing. And at this point, when we speak of this increase, it is going to happen between 1914 and 1926, where incomes are going to rise to 28%. When we speak of 28%, it is a lot for someone who once had nothing, but it is nothing in the society that is mainly being built here. Because they are mainly building a society that is going to live on people spending money. And it therefore continues to talk about the very fact that it develops them which we refer to as a consumer economy. When we speak of these people getting paid the amount that they are paid, it will not be enough because of the very fact that the society is that which is being developed to become a society that is that which we refer to as a consumer economy. When you speak of a consumer economy, what do you think we mean?
An economy that gives basic needs.
an economy that is more so tied to consumer spending. So at this point, it's where we are talking about a society that is going to pre-require its citizens to say, since we are working, you need to be someone who's living as per the standard of the amount of money they are earning. I want you to imagine a scenario here in South Africa. If I was once staying in Lehigh or Soweto, do you think I'll stay in Soweto when I start earning 50,000? Where will I stay? Eye of Africa. You see now? These are lovely places. Eye of Africa. Imagine. Eye of Africa. So I have an Eye of Africa dream in my head. When I have this Eye of Africa dream, I am going to start earning 50,000, right? And then from the 50,000, that's when I start thinking that, yes, I can stay in Eye of Africa because I'm earning 50,000 and it's a lot, right? Only to be met by a very harsh reality because number one, Eye of Africa is going to charge me 20,000 for maybe a rental. It's an example. Which means from the 50,000 that I'm earning after taxation, I'm now left with. And then I'm not someone who's going to stay in Eye of Africa and drive a Tez. Will I drive a Tez in Eye of Africa? When you hear Eye of Africa, do you think Tez? You start thinking of repairs, you start thinking of these fancy things, right? And at this point, I'm going to go and buy a car. Maybe it'll charge me somewhere around 6,000-7,000. And after everything is totaled for the car alone, petrol and maintenance and whatever the case may be, say, for example, for accuracy's sake, we are going to say it's 10,000. That means I'm going to be left with 20K. And from the 20K, I now need to buy groceries. After buying groceries, I'm going to buy groceries, say, for 5,000. I'm going to be left with 15. From the 15, I now need to support the families that I come from, or the family that I come from. Say I send them 5,000, I'll be left with 10,000. And there's still a life to live, by the way. I cannot be someone who just lives ordinarily. In my house, I need to have a house that is fitting to someone who stays in Eye of Africa. I'm not going to be someone who wakes up in the morning and washes using hands. Come on now. I'm going to need a diffuser. You know a diffuser? That thing that people buy that emits a scent. You plug whatever scent it is and then it emits that scent. It makes everything smell nice. Right? Do I need it? No. But where am I staying? In Eye of Africa. Yes, I need it because I'm now in Eye of Africa. All these things are things that I'm going to buy, not necessarily because I need them, but because of where I stay. And this is the case that is going to happen here. We are talking of a society that is known as a capitalistic society in the United States of America. That is therefore going to develop an economy that is going to be a consumer economy, where people will therefore be forced by the situations that they see themselves, not that they are going to be held at gunpoint. They'll be forced by that which they are seeing to say, hey, but now, offense is buying a car and I don't have a car. Oh, what about me? I can't be a failure. So I need to make a plan, and that's why now we are going to talk about the very fact that the development of a consumer economy is one that depends on a large amount of consumer spending. And we did say that for people who cannot afford, they are going to provide a solution, and that solution is credit. Which means if you cannot afford to buy this cash, don't worry, this society cares about you, right? Because we are saying they are developing a consumer economy. They cannot develop a consumer economy when they know that people are not paid enough. And therefore say, if you can't buy, then it's fine. They are going to say, no. Thanks. You can't afford cash. Don't worry, pay this phone for 16 years, it's fine. You can pay 500 rands for 16 years. And guess what? Because of the very fact that it's something that is normal in the society, everybody is happy. We all are. But there's one problem that you need to face. Let us look at one example in particular. We have this phone, right? You buy this phone, somebody please bring me their phone. Oh man, I need to make this example very fast. This is Samsung. Say for example you have a phone, right? And in this society, they have this version of phones. And this is the best phone. It's Samsung, right? When it comes to this phone in particular, one thing that you need to understand is when we speak of a society like this one, where they are developing a consumer economy, people are going to start seeing things as a necessity even when they are not. Imagine a scenario where every morning you wake up, there's an ad that says, hi, we have Samsung. This phone will make you look beautiful. It takes 15 pictures a minute. There's 3 cameras. Do you need them?
No.
but it has 3 cameras anyway. So you are going to think that, wow, 3 cameras, I need them. And at this point in time, it therefore says it takes 16 pictures per minute. Do you need 16 pictures per minute? No, but it will make you feel good. So this picture will actually hide away all your blemishes and marks. We have a filter. When you take this picture with pimples, it hides them. This phone will make you feel good. That's the name, right? When you have that advertisement, it therefore influences you to start saying, but oh, yeah, I need that phone. Even when you didn't need the phone, at this point in time, you are going to need it. As because of the influence that you are going to get from an advert. This is one society that is so being developed to become a consumer economy. And at this point in time, it is going to require a very, very, very large amount of consumer spending. So even when you are willing to spend, they are going to find means and ways of seeing to it that you spend through using advertisements. Are we together? Therefore, cause there's this question where you say, why a shift from thrift? When we speak of thrift, what do we mean? It's something that a whole lot of people are doing. It's something that a whole lot of people are mainly doing. When you speak of thrifting, what is thrifting? Yes, Masomani. Buying a bulk of clothes at a cheaper price. Thank you for trying. It is? It's buying second-hand clothes. When you are thrifting, there are people that are referring to themselves as thrifters. Those people go to places that sell second-hand clothing, they buy them and they wear them. That's what we refer to as thrifting. And at this point in time, we are therefore referring to a shift from thrift, which means before this economic boom or capitalist boom that we are talking often about in America, people did not mind buying second-hand clothes because that's what they could afford at the time. They were not necessarily going to buy things they don't need. They were only bought things that they mainly needed. But because of the shift, and that we refer to as a capitalist boom, where America is making money and it is giving people impressions that they can also make money as per the American dream. It therefore says people should shift from buying second-hand goods because now they can buy first-hand goods, which means you can buy brand new. Why? They are saying there are higher wages. And if you are failing to see that, they are going to try and convince you through what they are mainly selling, which is and at this point in time, the expectation is if you fail to pay cash, you are going to use problem given with solution. And the solution at this point in time is no, buy it. How? Are we together? Yes. And then we therefore move from that part, we come to this one. So in now we are going to talk of the president that who I am asked of and know about, which is the president before Herbert. The president before Herbert Hoover is this individual that we refer to as Calvin Coolidge. So here it says from war goods to consumer goods. America was dealing with supplying people in that war that we refer to as World War. Wow. When it comes to that war, they were mainly dealing with war goods, which means they were selling them, which was going to be used in. After making enough money, they transitioned from that and they started dealing with, which means factories that were dealing with making guns for war, they are no longer going to make guns for war, they are going to make guns for civilians, right? So in this sense, we speak of Coolidge cutting regulations on businesses. This part says cutting regulations on businesses. What are regulations? Regulations. It's a set of rules, it's a set of laws, it's a set of whatever the case may be that guides how someone needs to act within a certain time frame or a certain industry. When we speak of regulations, it's tied to laws and regulations or laws that are going to apply on businesses. We did say that a capitalistic society is going to rely on a free market economy. And we did define a free market economy, right? Right? What did you say is a free market economy? It's when businesses, not necessarily consumers, it's when businesses have no interference from the government. Thank you for that one. So when it comes to business in America, it is therefore not going to be regulated by the government. So as to ascertain that, USA has what we refer to as a free market economy, where businesses do as they see fit. And the Coolidge is basically saying, no, man, relax. Let the businesses do what businesses do. Don't bother them. They know what they are doing. If they want to hire 15 million people and pay them R1 each, it's fine. It's what businesses for as long as those businesses are employing people. That's one thing that they're mainly seeing, and it therefore says Americans' incomes rose. We did say that they had nothing, but they are going to say incomes are going to rise. And when they rise, they are not rising so that people can become rich. They rise for them to have enough to sustain themselves. And then it continues to say people began to buy refrigerators, radios, vacuums, and other appliances. Which means when it comes to this era that is tied to the economic boom or capitalist boom, it is tied to people being influenced to start buying such things, which is tied to technology and more advancements that are therefore meant to simplify their lives. Yes, ma'am.
So the businesses paying tax.
Yes, businesses are paying tax.
I said it to you.
All right, no problem. So when it comes to the people that are going to buy refrigerators, radios, and many other things, it will not be based on the very fact that they need those things, but it's because they'll be influenced to start thinking that maybe those things will simplify their lives. And it therefore says businesses began to advertise their products, and we know that's how they are going to convince people to start buying all of them, which is a listed thing. When we speak of Calvin Coolidge and everything that is going to happen under his leadership, there's going to be a transition of many things. Men were fighting in a war, right? And when men were fighting in a war, it basically means women were the ones that took the positions and places where these men worked. This is a shift. If I am here and now I need to go and fight a war and there's someone next to me, where I was, they'll come to be the person that was where they were next, where they were. Yeah. If I was here, yeah. There. So in this sense, when you speak of women, they are going to take up positions that are going to be left vacant by men who are fighting in a war. And at this point in time, when the war is done and men come back, women are expected to. You get me? And now one thing that you need to understand is now women have got the taste of making money.
Yes.
And once you know the taste of money, you are not going to just allow yourself to therefore say, no, it's okay, take away the money. Because now you know how to make the money and you know how it feels to have money. Now at this point in time, we are going to talk of the life changes for women. What it says here is women were told to go back home when the men came back to the factories after World War I. It says many women stayed in the workforce as typists, cleaners, cooks, servants, seamstresses, teachers, secretaries, and store clerks because they had experienced the touch of money. Right? So it continues to say many women bought ready-made clothing instead of making their own. Why? They now have. And at this point in time, the author says many women bought appliances to help them with housework after working a full day outside of the home. And when it comes to this thing, it's wherein now we talk of introductions of technological advancements. Here we see technological advancements as assisting people, right? There are moments and times where people are never going to see these technological advancements as a disadvantage because they are going to be replaced by the technology. Women gain the right to vote. When they gain the right to vote, it's where it is tied to the 19th Amendment in 1920, which means the role of women is going to change. When they start working and they start having rights to start working, they are also going to be granted rights to vote. When they are granted the rights to vote, it's where Kerry Chapman, which is Kerry Chapman Cat, set up the League of Women Voters. This group tried to educate voters and ensure the right of women to serve in or on juries. When it comes to this woman, she was one of the leaders of American women that therefore said they want to be able to vote or eligible to vote, and they got that. And they therefore said that's not enough. We also want to form part of what we refer to as juries. When we speak of former juries, what do you think we mean, guys? It's a judge, it's someone who's therefore going to hand a sentence. And when it comes to a jury, it's that particular group of people that are going to sit before the judge, listen to someone present their case, and therefore help in assisting or assist the judge in making a decision as to say this person is guilty or not. It's basically handing over the sentence. Are we together? That's what a jury is. And when we speak of voting, this picture is tied to women mainly being granted the ability to vote. This one is an example of women who are therefore going to be that which we refer to as juries, which means they are going to form part of the courts. Let us move what we have. Fly away, my bird. What we are mainly looking at this point is what is known as buying on credit. And when we speak of buying on credit, we have already established that people buy on credit for one reason. Why are they buying on credit? Because they can afford. But because they can afford does not mean they cannot buy, or they cannot have. Thank you. At this point, they are therefore going to resort to buying on
Credit.
which is installment plan. You are paying small. Okay? Young. Young, you keep on paying. Young, you keep on paying until adult, which means until you are done. At this point in time, when it comes to this buying on credit, it is that is therefore going to make people to start buying more. Why? Because people are seeing this as an option to say, if I don't have it, but I want it, I can get it. And then more people are going to say, I don't have a machine. I can't afford it. And they're like, no. Credit. Credit on credit. And then when they come, a whole lot of people are going to therefore start using credit. And at this point in time, it's where we speak of 60% of all cars, 70% of furniture, 80% of vacuum cleaners, 90% of washing machines are therefore going to be bought on credit. The ones were bought on cash, or the ones they were once paid for in cash, but now they are going to be bought using credit. Why? America is lovely. People want to live the American. They want to live and sleep on the fur. And at this point in time, it's where we also talk about the very fact that there's going to be development in electrical power. They discovered oil, and we spoke about John D. Spoke about John D. Rockefeller. Spoke about Rockefeller is all. Spoke about John D. Rockefeller. Okay, if it's the first time, John D. Rockefeller is one of the people in the 1700s who are going to be one of the fuel behind the ideology of capitalism, where we talked about monopoly. Yes, no? We did not talk about monopoly. Electrical power in this context is wherein we are talking about the very fact that they've already discovered the oil, right? Which is one of the energy reserves. They've already discovered the oil and many other facets of energy. They are therefore going to start making electricity. Once they start making electricity, it means that my industries are also expanding, right? And people are getting employed. And when we speak of electricity, it's wherein now electricity is going to become cheaper and widely available. And then it therefore says, less popular in rural areas, costly to run power lines, Rural Electrification Act, and George Morris. All these points mainly talk of one thing, that when it comes to electricity, it was less popular in the rural areas because it was not easy for people in the rural areas to buy and pay for electricity. And this is encapsulated in what we refer to as the Rural Electrification Act of 1936, which was enlisted and written by George Norris. It therefore continues to talk about the General Electric became one of the world's largest companies. When it comes to UGE, this is a company that still exists to date. It's quite unfortunate that I could not find a picture, but it's a symbol of familiar. For some people, they might have seen and actually recognize the logo. So when it comes to electricity, it is going to be one of those elements that are going to lead to the rise and growth of consumerism in the United States of America. One point that is going to lead people into buying things that they do not necessarily need is tied to. And this is an example that we've already made. We did say that new ads talked less about the product. They are more about how the product will improve your life. You have a phone. You have blemishes. It hides your blemishes. It's not about the very fact that you are going to call people. There was no part in the ad that said you are going to call people. It mainly talked about what this phone will do for you and how it is going to change your life. And by default, you are going to need it because it talks about things that you are also facing. And it says they use celebrities who could be stylish and like a movie star. And they also used persuasive and used psychology. When we speak of psychology, the advertisements were mainly targeting human emotion. See what? So that's where now people are going to be influenced to start by. Look at case in point. We have a family here that is sitting before a radio. Before today's radios, this is how radios look. They're very complex machines. So at this point in time, this is a family. It is sitting before the radio, which Papa brought. Right? Because Papa loves them, and when Papa bought them a radio, they came and sat before the radio that Papa bought. And when it comes to cars, we did say that the advertisements, they are not talking of the product. They are mainly telling you what this mainly will do for you. It says here, buy it because it's a better car, which means if you are buying a better car, you are also going to feel, you are going to look, you are going to be. So at this point, that's one of the reasons that we really talk about the very fact that consumerism in the United States is going to increase. People are going to start buying, even when they don't afford, because they are going to use. We are talking about advertisements. Here they are mainly saying advertisements drove up consumerism. People were more inspired to buy that even that which they did not need. The roaring 20s were fueled by advertisements. Those who couldn't afford to buy cash used credit. Banks lended people money, even though some may have ended it. Background checks were not done applicants because all was everything was fine. So when you look at the advertisements that we have here, prime example is this one where they are saying 20,679 physicists say lucky. These are cigarettes, by the way. These are cigarettes. So when they are saying 20,679 physicians say luckies, it basically means doctors will say yes to cigarettes, which means people are now going to buy cigarettes and start saying lucky, right? And when you speak of these cigarettes, they are going to start giving people the impression that they are cool. And then we are also going to talk of cigarettes even on this side. Look at this lady. She's amazed that this guy bought cigarettes. Wow, it's a nice thing to buy a lady ciggies. Why? Smoking is one of the cool things to do during this time, which means a whole lot of you would have survived at this time because smoking is lucky. And at this point in time is where we are also looking at this individual. He's getting everything that is tied to the company that is known as birds, which means he's holding all that which is referred to as products that are sold by birds. And it says, hello kitties, I've been shopping, which means he was buying things for his family. And look at the suit he's wearing, look at the attire, look at the hat. Oh my God, it speaks volumes. It speaks volumes. And at this point in time, it means this person is living a very soft life. You can even buy a sponge. Sponge cake was not for everyone. Even today, I think we know there are things that some people cannot eat, like myself. I wish I can afford the caviar, but unfortunately, I don't. You know caviar? Yeah, it's one of the useless delicacies, but let us move. The life of the party, luscious, tempting, appealing. This woman has what we refer to as a Tootsie Roll. What is a Tootsie Roll? It's a lap stick. Makes this lady look at the men. They are looking at Saladi. Why? Because of the Tootsie Roll. Are we together? So when it comes to advertisements at this point, when you wear this thing, men will definitely be looking. So ladies want to be looked at. And they are definitely going to start using the Tootsie Roll. And that's where now we are going to talk about the impact of automobiles. People are going to start buying cars. It says car sales grew rapidly in the 1920s because of heavy assembly line, which made them so cheap. It began in 1904, right before World War I and the Great Migration. General Motors also became a popular seller of cars. When it comes to cars at this point in time, when we speak of the assembly line, something of this nature, can you see the track on which the car is? It means once this person is done with his part, he's going to move it to the next person. And one other example that I usually like to make is the very fact that you yourselves are a product that is on the assembly line. After I'm done with you, you go to grade 12. After they are done with you, you go to grade 13. After they are done with you, you go to grade 14. After that, such is a continuous thing. And when you speak of an assembly line, it's when the product starts off as pieces in the beginning, and at the very end of the assembly line, that the pieces are now a product. This is why. So when you speak of the technology that is going to start replacing people, we did say that technology is going to assist people. When women were buying machinery and machines to help them after a long day, that was technology assisting them. Until there came a part where technology started replacing humans. Once they started introducing, even the assembly line itself as an introduction, it meant that they are no longer going to be men who will have to be hired to push the product to the next man and wait for it to be done. So that it can be pushed to the next man and wait for it to be done. So that they can push it to the next person so that they can wait for it to be done. Instead, everything was now going to be done through them, which we refer to as an assembly line. An assembly line is basically an automated machine that takes the product once it's done. You press the button, it moves it to the next person. They stop it, they do. They press, it moves. That's how technology is now going to start replacing people. And at this point in time, you need to be cognizant of the very fact that people took loans. People took stuff that they did not need and they said they are going to pay using credit. And some people are therefore going to be fired after such a situation. And how are they going to pay for it? Find out in the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. So at this point, when we speak of the cars that they are going to be buying, it is going to be tied to one thing in particular. Here, we are going to be looking at the changing lifestyles due to the automobiles. Millions of jobs were created through factories, oil refineries, roads, highways, truck stops, gas stations, restaurants, and tourist stops. Many Americans began to move to the suburbs to escape crowded conditions in the cities. Prime example, the 50,000, you remember?
Yes.
And I said I want to go stay in Eye of Africa. And I'm going to buy a car that will be fitting for someone who stays in Eye of Africa. Because of the amount of money that I am earning, I want to live a life that will be substandard to that money. And that's why people are also going to do these things. When it comes to cars, people are going to start buying cars, and they are buying cars. We did say that the cars that they are buying, they are not just buying them for fun. They are buying these cars because these cars are, which means they themselves are. They now going to need to go and live in conditions that are, and therefore move away from the conditions that they once lived in. And that way. And now we are going to find ourselves talking about this very fact that people are going to have a change in lifestyle. When it comes to that particular change, it is not only going to be tied to the lifestyle of people, it is not going to be tied to the economy or the industry. It's also tied to the very fact that the society itself is changing. There's going to be a new generation of American writers who are going to be so much as depressed. Oh, so much as depressed about their awful experiences in World War. When these people went to World War I and fought, they came with an experience and trauma. And this trauma is the one that they are going to put in paper and they are going to start writing stories. And we did say that these people are depressed. And when they are depressed, it's where they are going to criticize Americans for the life that they are now going to live because of that which we refer to as a consumerism, a consumer economy. We did say that the economy or the society is promoting people to become consumerists, right? And they are basically promoted to start spending a lot more. When such writers come from World War I and they see that, they are going to say, oh wow, how hard we have fought, how hard we have tried. I've been shot 16 million times and I've lived through the day. And at this point in time, when I come to the Americans, they are now so much as conceited on the goods, wherein they should be languishing in the simplicity of life. Oh, what a beauty it is to have nothing. Because when you have nothing, you worry about nothing. These are such writers that are therefore going to come about. When they come about, their main objective is writing about their feelings. And when they are writing about that feeling, so again, there's going to be a different kind of genre of writing in terms of books themselves. These writers criticize Americans for being obsessed with money and fun. They continue to say many became expatriates. When you speak of expatriates, it's people that are going to leave a country because they are saying, this country is boring. Hey, let me go and stay in a country that is reserved. And a lot of them are going to go to Europe. They are Americans, yes, but they are going to become expatriates because they are saying Americans are living a life that we no longer recognize. Let us go to places that are still reserved. People that are not going to be conceited on buying things. People that are not going to be conceited on buying flashy stuff that they do not necessarily need. People that are not obsessed with money and fun. Such writers therefore left America and went and stayed in new places. When they left, Abanye came up with them to refer to as. When others left, others introduced new music. And when we speak of the music that was to be introduced at this point in time, it's going to be an example of jazz, which will be born in New Orleans. It was created by African Americans. It was a combination of West African rhythms, African American songs and spirituals with European harmonies. Jazz was a form of music that was expressed the upbeat attitude of the decade. We do understand that when it comes to jazz, it was wherein now people are going to start going to parties and dancing in twos, right? It's wherein we speak of the society starting to elevate in the instance of entertainment as well. So we also speak of the Harlem Renaissance in the 1920s, where many African American artists settled in Harlem, which is a new place in New York City. And the black artists and musicians and writers celebrated their African and American heritage through music, through acts, through drama, through novels, through whatever it is that they used as a form of entertainment. And it continues to talk about an individual that is known as W.F. Scott Fitzgerald. I chose to use him as an example because of the book that he wrote that I think and assume, or thought and assumed, a lot of you would understand, which is the book that is known as The Great Gatsby. If you don't know the book, you know a movie. Yes, no? You don't know The Great Gatsby? Yeah. But I know for a fact that if I was to ask about the number of the days in a year, you guys would know that movie. But let us move. When it comes to that, we are talking about the very fact that you're bound to know that one, definitely. When it comes to Scott Fitzgerald, he wrote about the wealthy young people who go to constant parties but cannot find happiness. When it comes to things that matter, you guys do not know them. But when it comes to these things, we speak of W.F. Scott Fitzgerald, who wrote this movie that is known as The Great Gatsby. This was one movie where he was mainly writing about the wealthy young people who go to constant parties but cannot find happiness. His characters had flappers, bootleggers, and movie makers. And this is where now we speak of things that are therefore going to see to it that they change the society of the United States of America. And we did say that we are talking of such writers and such introductions which have to do with new genres that are basically being written. And then the last part, which is a shattering dream, which is met by reality. Is there. Number one, the American dream must be met with a very harsh reality. And that reality, please read for us. Number one.
The American dream was to be made with a very harsh reality.
Which has to do with?
Goods were produced in masses which led to overproduction.
And when we speak of goods being produced in masses, we do understand that a whole lot of things are going to be produced, right? Because they still think that people can still get these things on credit. But we did say that there's that particular aspect in the society that is happening that is trying to even out things. When people are employed, technology is introduced. When technology is introduced, it reduces employment. When people had borrowed, yes, I know I'm Zulu, but it's not borrowed. When it comes to that, which we are talking about is borrowed. They had already borrowed money. Are we together? Yes. The Great Gatsby. The Great Gatsby. That's a very fun movie. When it comes to, it will be boring for a lot of people because it doesn't have a whole lot of commotion. There are no guns that are also involved, people chasing each other. It's just a movie that you basically watch with the intention of trying to understand then what do they mean when they are talking about the roaring 20s. So when it comes to goods, they were producing masses which led to overproduction. Why do we speak of overproduction? They are going to produce more than people are going to need. And we continue to talk of yet another point. Let us hear it. Yes, ma'am. Please read this point. It says,
Supply was to eventually be met by unequal demand.
Supply was to eventually be met by unequal. And we know for a fact that for things to be at equilibrium, which is a point of rest, things need to be balanced. There needs to be supply that will be met by demand that will be supplied by enough supply. This is one. That aspect of the economy is always one thing that is a necessity. You cannot just produce for the fun of it. Say for example, I was selling food and I prepared 10 plates because I'm not selling food. Say I was making 10 plates a day, only to find that there are 5 people that need it. What happens to the other 5? It's waste, right? So I'm running at a loss. So that's one of the things that is going to be one of the greatest causes of what we are eventually going to. It also talks about unequal distribution of wealth, which also made things a tad bit difficult. People's wages and salaries were eventually not enough to sustain them. Technology slowly replaced workers in factories and other industries, e.g. the assembly line eventually was automated. The recent introduction of buying shares to make profits by those who had no knowledge of markets. This is one that is so much as familiar because even our brothers, they are forex traders. Right? They are traders. Forex. Ask them, hey, what's going on? And like, trade. A trader, yes. Ah. Nice. Level 1 history, but you are a forex trader. Ah, yes. This person does not know what they have to do, which is analyzing the markets, reading the news, analyzing the news. They don't even know what Bloomberg is. They don't know where the markets are studied. They do not know this. They do not know that. The only thing they know is you set a trade when there is a bullish trade. There's a bullish trade. They'll tell you about the bullish trade. Yeah, you see this yardstick, this yardstick, it means money is being made. Hey. Does not just start and end there. You need to do an in-depth analysis of what you are mainly doing, which is trading. So in this sense, back then, people also did the same thing. Once they were unemployed, people went to banks and borrowed money. Some who were still employed still went to banks and borrowed money. They said, because they want to be rich, and money that they are earning from the salaries or the wages they are getting, it is not making them rich. It is only giving them the ability to sustain themselves. But they want to become rich. So they go to the banks and borrow money to say, hey, there's something in this week. There's a trading platform that we now know. I need to borrow money. And they're like, what do you have? And they are going to say, I have a house. How much is your house? 50,000. How much do you want? I want 40,000. All right. For your 40,000, if you fail to pay it back, we'll come and take your house. How about that? Yes, you can give it to me. Why? Because people are seeing America that is on the rise. Everything is going well in America. That's one thing that they are thinking, which it will go well until the very end. But like we said, a system always has a balance. Even on planet Earth, it is rotating on an axis because there needs to be balance. Without that axis, it's out. Just one. That's why Earth is not rotating randomly. It's not doing this. It's rotating because it is held at a balance point, which there is an axis that is holding this thing to be rotating in the manner in which it should. So when it comes to people that are therefore going to say we are unemployed, please borrow us money, we have houses. Those people will borrow money from banks so that they can go and trade. One thing that you need to understand about these people is the people that are basically saying, listen, guess you said, oh, did you? Capitalism is never going to say, listen, one thing that I want to do here is trade. And fortunately, on that day, Capitalism is going to make money. And when he makes money, he's going to make 20,000 from investing 5 rand. Guess what he's going to say? Hey, when I make money, how much did you make? 20,000. How much did you invest? 5 rand? Yeah, I am coming. How did you do it? I'll show you. It was luck. Camelo says he's going to do the same thing. He goes to the bank and says, please borrow me money. What are you going to do with money, sir? I'm going to trade. Oh, so you are buying on a margin. Buying on a margin? You are buying on a margin. When you are borrowing money from the bank so that you can go and buy shares in the stock market, that is what we refer to as buying on a margin, because you are using money that you do not have. Instead, this is the bank that is, it's the money from the bank, which means it belongs to you have to pay it back at the end of the day. But because you can't just get that money, you also need to have collateral. They are going to say, okay, if you fail to pay it back, what do you have? I have a house. We'll come and take your house. We'll repossess your house. And you're going to say it's fine because the only thing you're thinking of is the dollar signs in your eyes. Like you can already see yourself driving that car that makes you better. You can already see yourself saying yes to lucky. You can already see yourself buying a whole lot of things that you do not necessarily need. You borrow that money, you go to the market. All the money, I actually invested 5 rand. You borrowed 50,000. You are going to invest 50,000 because when he makes 20,000 from 5 rand, and then that means you are going to make a lot. When a man trade you are sorted, guess what? What you are doing is what we refer to as speculation. You are buying on a margin, through that which we refer to as speculation. You have hopes. Oh, hopes. Oh, how good you are. You have hopes of one thing in particular, that with this investment, I'll be able to pay back everyone I owe. The house, the radios that I took that I no longer need, the car, anything and everything, so that at the end of the day, I'll be left with however much I'll be left with, which means you are speculating. And guess what happens? Things go the other way. And when they go south, it's when now we are going to talk of something that is an event that will be known as what we refer to as the Wall Street crash. Yeah, I know if one thing that I need to have for myself is I made the slides. At this point in time, it's where we are mainly referring to what is known as the Wall Street crash. So by looking at this thing that is so much is moving nicely here, it's where we are talking of the trading market. When traders are trading, this is something, they are looking at something of this nature when they are doing an analysis. Are we together? So here it says the doom of the American dream, and the part that says the doom of the American dream is my subtopic. The topic that we are dealing with here is what is known as the Wall Street crash, as presented by yours truly. And on which day? Lovely. Lovely stuff. So at this point in time, one thing that we need to understand is that which is mainly done by the people that go to the banks and borrow money. It is that which we refer to as buying on a margin. And they come with this money to try and invest it in the markets, which is known as speculation. See what? Now they are going to face a reality. These are things that we need to know. We need to know what we are referring to when we speak of the Wall Street crash. With this very symbol, I think by default you can see what we are talking about. We are talking about a decline or decrease. It says the Wall Street crash is a major stock market crash where stocks and eventually money lost value. We are also going to talk of that which we refer to as buying on a margin. Buying on a margin is using money borrowed from the banks to buy shares in the market. And we also speak about that which we refer to as speculation. Speculation is when you have hope of gain with the risk of loss. In context, it's when people borrow money to come and invest it in the market with hopes of making more money. Then it's where we are going to talk about that which is known as the Great Depression. And when it comes to Great Depression, it's where we are referring to a severe economic downturn from 1929 to 19 in the United States of America, which is eventually going to affect everyone in the world. And then we are going to talk about what is known as tariffs. Tariffs are a form of taxes that is paid on goods from another country. This is wherein that I feel we just need to end it. Are there any questions? Are there any questions?